Alright, what's good everybody? My name is Sen and welcome to another fighting game related video. Now for today's video I wanted to talk about a sort of introductory to enjoying fighting games. You guys would not believe how many times I've run into a conversation of someone saying that they just can't enjoy fighting games. Now I can totally understand that fighting games are a very niche genre and they're not for everybody, I get it. But if you did want to try your best to enjoy, I want to present sort of a line of attack in this video. First things first, you gotta actually pick a game. Now I can understand this would be pretty tough because there's just so many, and the simplest answer would be for you to pick something newer, but that's not always the case. That's not always what works. If you happen to have a ton of disposable income, you could just kind of try anything and everything. Alright, let's say you're like most of us and don't have a ton of disposable income. I would recommend YouTube from that point. Look up a top 8, top 16, or even pools of any and every game that you're interested in and then go from there. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a new game. I mean, look at Plus R and Central Fiction, for example. Those games are kind of poppin' now. Hopefully you end up picking something with solid netcode, but you could be like me and a lot of other people and be a Dragon Ball player. Alright, moving on to actually learning the game. Just because I am a Dragon Ball player does not mean I'm going to use Dragon Ball as an example. The first place to get started in any game, I would say, is movement. Being able to feel your way comfortably around the screen is extremely important for the long-term play of your game. So in something like Mortal Kombat, you have a walk forward, a walk back, you got a crouch, you got a jump. You don't have a double jump, but you have a jump back, a jump forward, you have a dash forward, and you have a dash back. Now for the more complicated movement that I cannot do, you have wave dashing. I can't really do it that good. Let's actually take it back a step by taking a look at characters that you'd be interested in. Now, the classic thing to go with is pick a character that you think looks cool. Yeah, the strategy can totally work for your initial deployment into a fighting game, but it might not necessarily be what you stick with for the long term. As you continue to play a fighting game, you begin to figure out things you do and do not like in a character. And just liking the character in general helps you continue to play, because if you don't like what you're playing, you're not going to want to play it. Pretty simple, right? When I first started initially with MK, not that I'm much of an MK player, I was very interested in Collector, but he just didn't feel right, so I went with something a bit more basic and played some Sub-Zero. I was a little bit all over the place as well. I also played Kung Lao. I played a little bit of Liu Kang, not at any kind of high level. I messed a little bit around with Fujin. I took a look at Spawn. But for a while I just settled with Sub-Zero, and more recently have been playing a little bit of Jax. Alright, so we've covered a little bit of the movement, we've covered the character, now let's talk about the actual moves themselves. It is extremely important, in my opinion, to take a look at the normals and your attacks yourself, and formulate ideas of why they may or may not be useful. Why you think something is strong. There are a couple of reasons I think this. First off, it gets you thinking for yourself, but more importantly, let's say a new character drops or you plan on picking up a new game, there might be a little while, for at least a couple of days or maybe a week, where there isn't a tutorial on how to play the character or game that you're interested in. So when I was initially taking a look at Jax for the first time, I saw his forward 4. This move stood out to me for two main reasons. First off, it's forward advancing. It can be hit confirmed into 2, but also his forward 4 is +1 on block. Now, if you don't know what plus means yet, it just means if you were to do the same attack as your opponent with the same speed, yours would hit first because you're at advantage. So pretty simply, it's a good way to continue your pressure. And a little bit of like a slight knowledge check. Things like that. I mean, obviously 1-2 is going to be one of your faster strings, but the importance of the initial one is that it's a high, it can be ducked, things of this nature. Try to figure things out for yourself at least a little bit, then move on to a tutorial or watching someone play or something. Learn things like your quick pokes, your anti-airs. Mortal Kombat obviously has a universal anti-air with down 2, and I believe it has upper body invincibility. For Mortal Kombat, I take a look at things that start high, things that start mid, and things that start low. After this, I just try to learn a very basic combo and go from there. anything works at a basic level. Now, it's very likely that whatever game you're playing will have some form of a tutorial, and along with it, maybe even some trials. Trials are absolutely a good way to get started and on your journey as far as combos are concerned. They won't always be optimal, but they're at least useful for getting you on your way. Now, the only game that I would actively not recommend whose combo trials you would do is actually Dragon Balls. If you're gonna learn combos, I would actually recommend just looking up a B&B or something. Alright, so you picked a game, you learn the basics and system mechanics of the game that you're playing through the tutorial, you picked a character and or characters, you learn some basic combos, how to anti-air, all that stuff. From there you just play online. Now, I know for some people this is where it gets tough. Playing online is hard. For people like fighting game players and myself included in that, we very much enjoy grinding online. That is not for everyone. You can learn to like it, I absolutely believe that, but the thing that happens in fighting games is the enjoyment outside of the fighting online. And I believe, once again, this is where YouTube comes into play. The things that you are doing when you are not playing the game is just as important as when you are playing the game. If I'm watching a top 8 or a top 16 in the fighting game that I'm interested in, it's going to make me want to play the game. Maybe if it's not the game that I'm currently playing. Maybe I'll learn something from the other game and want to apply it to my game. Content around fighting games is extremely important, and this has been made vocal for a couple different reasons. First off, it's going to keep your eyes on the fighting game and have you enjoy it in a different capacity than you would be while playing it. Second off, you are going to passively learn things while you're watching the fighting game just by someone either commentating about it or kind of understanding the physical representation of what's going on in the match. I passively picked up a lot of things just by watching Dragon Ball FighterZ players. Watch a content creator because you think they're funny or interesting, or they make you think about the game and or games in a different way. Watch a content creator because they play a character that you like or that you play, or a team that you play or are interested in. It really doesn't matter. There's been so many times where I've just been chilling and watching Dragon Ball FighterZ content, and it'll make me want to play the game, and I'll have it in the background while I'm playing the game. The last thing I want to talk about for your continued enjoyment of a fighting game is finding someone to play it with. Find a rival, something, because if you have someone that is on your level, that is working to constantly one-up you so you have to up your game, that'll bring out the best in you and make you want to either theorycraft or work on the matchup at hand for whoever you're fighting. This guy Vince is a fucking bitch, and I love every time when we play fighting games because we always have such good matches.
Duel 1. Let's rock.
My DP. Alright, well that's what I got for you guys this time around. If you guys have anything to add, leave it in the comments below. Like, get invested in a pro player. I don't know. But thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to keep fighting. Peace.